Good morning and welcome to today's Q&A call. This is Tina Bradford. If this is your first time, thank you for coming and welcome to the call. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back and showing up. So this, as our Q&A call, is all about you guys out in the field. So if you have a question, if there's anything you want to see, a strategy being built, information about rent versus own versus a total cost analysis, seller buy down, anything at all, I'm here to answer your questions. All you have to do is drop that question down in the chat box. And a lot of times it's a little difficult to get things started, but if you did come with a certain question, drop it in the chat box and we can start with your question, and then things tend to start building up from that point. So again, if you do have a question, drop it in that chat box. So how do you show the impact of doing a cash out refi to roll in a HELOC into the mortgage? Perfect question, Christy. Let's start with that. And I'm actually going to start from a strategy template. So if you haven't used strategy templates are fabulous. They're going to allow me, and I'm going to log out of this account and log into a fresh account that has a little bit less stuff in there. Strategy templates allow you to be able to not have to put in so many keystrokes. So I'm going to use this one right here that I have, clicking on it, copying it to a new client. I will go page by page still through it. I just won't have to put in some information. So we're going to use Christy as our example. I did just change it as an individual piece. Remember to place in that phone number just because you want it on that notification. And this is going to be my cash out refi. Rolling in a HELOC. On the contact information, remember only that property street address will show up on the presentation. The goal, I'm just going to leave it on other. It's the easiest one because I can manipulate the numbers myself. Some of these other ones do roll information in here. Such example, if I did pay off my debt, this extra debt would be included in the actual payoff amount. So I like using other because I like self-manipulating the numbers. When I start with the assumptions, the current property address is going to be based on what is today's appraisal value. I'm going to use 400. That is the only required field on this page. If I did not have the current information for their current mortgage loan, I could fill in the other sections, but it doesn't make the presentation complete in the fact that it doesn't show off the actual payoff amount that the client has to, or not the payoff amount, the number of payments left. So the more information you have, the more complete the presentation is. Current mortgage, this is where I'm going to start placing in that mortgage. So we're going to go ahead and put in a date. And I'm going to put in the original loan amount. So how much did they originally take out? And the original interest rate. I'm going to say it was a 360-month or 30-year term. You'll see as soon as I put that in there and I tab off of it, it does give me a remaining balance on how much is left. Now you can update this remaining balance by typing over it the actual payoff amount. So if I did have a different amount shown on the statement, or I know the actual payoff amount, I can just type right over it and it will take that typed over amount. Then once I've done that, if anything else pertained, I fill it in. I'm going to click on my next button. I'm going to put my actual hazard insurance, my actual property tax, and then at the bottom here it says, does this product have a second lien? Yes, it does. Clicking on that next button, now I can place in the information on that second lien. So I'm going to say this was a SIMO. if I can type 2003 in there. And the original loan amount, the interest rate on it, based on the average interest rate or what it is today, I'm going to say it's gone up to 4.75. I'm going to say it was a 20-year fixed. You'll see my remaining balance comes in. Now, if it's a HELOC, you're going to place ARM here. And that's going to open up another window. I'm also going to say my first 10 years, it was interest only. So you'll see that readjusted that balance for me. Now, when I go into the next page, I would be able to put in the HELOC information. But before I do that, if you're doing a refinance rolling in a SIMO and you are showing a tax benefit, remember to check this little include in tax benefit button. Because it's a HELOC, if you refinance it, it is tax deductible. If it is used to pay off a home, it is tax deductible. Most other things are not tax deductible anymore if you're rolling money into that first. Clicking on my next button, now I'm going to make those adjustment information. So first adjustment cap, I'm going to say was 2%, and then I need to place in, not all of these pertain to a HELOC. So the first adjustment month, it adjusts every single month. So 1. Periodic cap does not pertain. The adjustment months, again, 1. The max rate may or may not pertain. If it does pertain, you can place it in here. So I'm going to say my max rate is 10, which is pretty common. And then if I know what my margin is, I can place that margin in there. And if I know if it's tied to the index, I can place in the index. If there is a floor, you can place it in there. Most HELOCs, the floor is not a concern. And then it is set on worst case scenario. You have the ability to adjust it to best case or to custom, either one. So I'm going to leave it on worst case and click on next. If I wanted to fill in the affordability, if I was concerned about DTI, I could fill that in. If I was concerned about reserves, I could fill this in. Down here is where I would start filling in the tax information. And I'm going to go into my 30-year term. Remember, process of procedure is very important here. First thing you always do is you copy it from the original loan and click on OK. Now, what you're going to do after you copy it from that original loan, is it a refinance? Yes, it is. So now you should have that refinance scenario all placed in here. Now you can start going in and adjusting it. So at this point, because I'm rolling in, and I'm going to actually cheat and go through it this way, because I'm rolling in this second lien into here, I would need to add that remaining balance. I'm going to just say $20,500 into the first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my second by coming here to the monthly cost and unchecking the box. I don't have to delete everything out of the second. As long as I uncheck the box, it's removed. And then I'm going to go back to the first page and add in to that loan amount that $20,500. So where it says base loan amount, I'm going to add that in here, and I'm just going to make it an easy $20,000 just to make it simple to add. And I hate that it rolls it over every time. We need to get that adjusted. So then once I add that $20,000, now I've rolled that HELOC into the first. So now I can go in here, my equity is in there, my base loan amount, everything's set up. I'm going to add my closing cost. So when I add my closing cost, hopefully you have templates in there. And I'm just going to find one that has some closing cost in there. Once I have all that in there, applying it to the loan, If they have points, I'll add that points, add my prepaid days of interest, my hazard insurance and property taxes in here, but I do need to add in my hazard insurance months and my tax insurance months. So any question on anything that I've done so far? So you will see, excuse me, you will see right here, I have cash to close. So if I want no money coming to the table, I don't want to show any cash to close, I'm going to roll it into the loan. What I'm going to do, okay, just one. Oh, what is a SIMO? A SIMO is a loan that is taken out with the first loan on the purchase. So a lot of times you'll hear it called an 80-10-10. That's a SIMO. It just means it's taken out simultaneously as the first initial loan was. So now that I have this balance here, if I want to roll it into the loan, I'm going to go back one page, go to my closing cost, click the little button, add all fees to loan, and apply it to the loan. Now I am doing this after I add my reserve months because those months are right here. If I do it before, they will not be checked. So after you add those reserve months. Now you'll see I still have $816 here. This is my prepaid days of interest. I'm going to click that little button there. Once I click my next button, then, oops, I'm still showing a balance. So there is something not adding to the loan amount, or, oh no, this is just the amount that I'm off because I didn't use the exact $20,000. If I use, or the exact payoff amount, if I use the exact payoff amount, this wouldn't exist. So that's the only reason why it's showing a 382 balance. Now I can go into my next product. Second product is always the easiest. Simply copy from another product. Copy from that 30-year that I just did all that work on and click on OK. And then after I click on OK, now I can change it based on that new term. And I did forget to change my interest rate on that last loan. So I'm going to go back and change the interest rate on my 30-year. And let's say now that I have to, I'm not doing a cash out. So this is a strategy template. I don't have to fill out the information for this strategy template. So why did I add the fees to the loan? Those are the closing cost fees. So the closing cost fees are the fees, the cost that it's going to be for them to do it. If you're doing a no-cost loan, you can do a no-cost loan if you don't add the fees. But you will still, on a no-cost loan, you would still have your prepaid days of interest, and you would still have your hazard insurance and reserve months if you have the reserve account. And even on a no-cost loan, I like showing in my closing cost details that there is fees, but as the lender, I am taking care of the fees. So what I would do is I would actually show a lender credit. So I know that it's about $1,900, so I'm going to say 1% by doing a -1 here. That's going to give me a lender credit if I do that negative amount. So I do like showing, even if I'm doing that no-cost loan, I do like showing that if on that one, a lender credit in order to show that the lender is paying the fees. So anyone else having audio problems? If you're having audio problems, raise your hand. So I only have, so there are some audio problems. I'm going to lower everyone's hands. I'm going to cheat. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to actually plug in my internet versus having it wireless. So give me 1 second. Okay, let's see if that is any better. And if it's not, then it is Zoom that is creating the problems. So I'm thinking it might be Zoom because it takes over a lot of the memory in the computer. Okay, so we came back here. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, but just to know, if you are paying those fees, you would do this, but you would not add the fees to the loan. So I'm going to uncheck this box and show you how it results. Now you'll see that it pays for those fees. So depending on if you are covering the cost of the fees or you're not, you would add that lender credit in there. I'm going to go ahead and remove that, add my fees back to the loan. Now I'm going to go back to my second loan product, that 15-year. And we're going to just start all over. So the 15-year, I'm going to copy it from another product, copy from that 30-year, click on OK. All the work has been done because I did it in that 30-year. Now I just need to change my interest rate and change my term. Everything else should remain the same. So on the third product, I'm not going to show it. So what am I going to do with that third product? I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to go to the presentation, and I'm going to uncheck that box. I cannot delete a product. I can only remove it from the presentation. So now it has been removed from the presentation. I'm going to go back to my analysis screen, adjust this based on my client's needs. Anything I need to change or adjust here, I can. Now, what if my client says, I don't want to roll back to a 30-year. I want to continue paying it off at a faster accelerated rate, keeping the same payment as the current payment. In order to do this, I'm going to go into the Adjust Reinvestment Strategy on that analysis page, where it has the savings amount up here. I'm going to come down here and place that in here. So 1124.83. I'm going to do the same thing on my 15-year, 931. Now, why would my client choose the 30-year over the 15-year? If there was an emergency, if there was any problems that my client ran into, they would be locked into a really low payment. So if you have maybe an elderly couple or someone who might have some medical issues, this 30-year loan might be a better choice because you're locking them into that really low payment. And so if anything was to happen, if the worst case scenario was to happen, they're locked into that lower payment. So if they can't come in and afford to make the payment at the same amount, then they still have that ability to go back to that lower payment. So it's a great teaching moment. Again, your job as loan officers is to set your clients up financially in the best case scenario. So for depending on the client, best case scenario might be that 30-year, even though that interest rate's a little bit higher. Now, once I'm done with making those adjustments, I'm going to X off, and then I can go right into the presentation. So if I click on my little upper right-hand corner, I'm just going to click on Preview, click on OK. Now what you will see, oops, I'm 1 cent off, I typed in the wrong number. What you'll see here though, it should say 0 across the board because I do have them set as the same payment amount, which will take in calculation into that savings over 60 months because this is that unrecoverable cost. So if I click on the more information, I'm simply adding interest in MI plus the closing cost of the loan. Net worth in 10 years, of course, it's going to build faster based on the loan term. I'm showing my reduction payment here, my payments up here, And for some reason, it carried the same payment over. So I'm going to have to look into that. But it did not carry it over here. So that first page, I'm in a dev mode, so sometimes I can find things that other people can't. Closing costs are in here. Initially bulk. The fee details breaks it down for me based on those fees. If I was showing that lender credit, that would come up right here at this point spot. Oh, and we'll go into the reinvestment payment because I did do the reinvestment. You'll be able to come in here and show them that payment. Of course, on this one, I would be highlighting my freedom points. And on both, you can see they have 3.5 years on that first or on the second, as well as this one here. So you do show both the first and the second payment on that page. Any questions on doing that loan scenario? Yes, if I was to do the cash out refi, maybe they want extra cash out. I'm going to come back here to that cash out refi. How I would do the cash out refi is I would copy it from the 15 or the 30, which one they want to do. Let's say they're looking at that 15-year term. Click on OK. And then what I would do is I would add however much cash out they want to the base loan amount. So let's say they only need an extra $10,000. I would come in here. I would add that $10,000 right here. Whoops. I would probably have to adjust the interest rate based on the fact they're doing a cash out now. And then everything else should remain the same. But what you will see in that cash out is you'll see your cash out amount over here as a negative. So if these are all zeros, it'll just say cash out instead of cash to close here, and it would show that $10,000. But again, because I didn't use the exact amount of that second loan, it's not quite showing the way it should. Any other questions on refinance, or is there another scenario or question that you have that you would like me to work through? Any significant differences between the old Mortgage Coach and the new Advice Engine? There's a couple of new things that you will notice. First off, logging in itself. When you log in, click on this Remember Me button, because what will happen is every time you log in, it will automatically take you right into Mortgage Coach when you go to the HTML address. You won't have to put login information. So that is one of the first and foremost, my favorite things. Second is every time you go into a presentation to build it, you'll see all your little pop-ups. These are little helper pop-ups. So if you're new to Mortgage Coach, or if you want to become more accustomed by reading through them, you can. But at a certain point, you're going to go, that's in my way. I don't want to see it anymore. When you get to that point, there is a tooltip turn off. So you can turn it off. Next thing is when you are in a presentation, let's go strategy template. If I click into strategy template to build out a strategy template, and this one doesn't have notes, let me go to one that does have notes. That's probably one I built myself. There is little notes over here that are little notes to help you know what you need to do. So if you read through these little notes, it will give you some assistance on building out that strategy template. You will be receiving, based on the type of product that you have, if you have broker, if you are an enterprise client, you will be starting to be fed actual videos up here that help you train. For example, I have a company in Utah that uses a special or just now is doing a Utah down payment assistant that is actually a second loan that they make payments on. So that training would be up here on how to build out a strategy template with it and how to use that product. So you'll see that coming into play, especially with enterprise companies. You'll see it coming into play more. Everything else, I think the biggest change for me was the contact information. Instead of being at the end of the presentation, it's at the beginning of the presentation. And you will start seeing some little things. For example, MI, when you place it in the loan, and I'm going to go here. I don't think they've done it yet, but you're going to see a little checkbox in the MI to decide if you want it to impact the payoff amount with the appreciation to impact it or not. So you'll start seeing some other things added in. We are hopefully rolling out a true cash out refinance by Q1 of next year, which I'm so excited. But everything else as far as doing it, just remember that's going to open it up and you just follow through here. When you click here, it does open it up so you can go directly into where you want to go versus having to go through the next. And the little toolbox over here is a little new thing where you can go directly into what you want to go into. So can you show a 30-year loan that is paid off at the 15-year rate? They want the flexibility to lower the payment, but the plan on the 15-year payoff. Okay, you can show that. And what I would show is let me ask Jean, they want to see how much that extra payment is? Or do they just want to see that being paid off in that amount of time? Because there's two ways to show this. Actually, I'll just show both ways. So the first thing would be, I'm going to just do new client. I'm going to go into my goals and just put, is this a refinance? Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to do it as if it was a purchase. You could do it as a refinance or purchase, but both scenarios, this is going to be a really great thing to be able to show your client that payoff amount. Only thing I need to put in my assumptions is their actual amount that they are approved for. My product one is going to be the 30-year fixed. I'm going to go in, and if you have a product template, drop in your product template. That's going to be the fastest way to do it. If you don't have a product template, you need to come in and put your fees in there. So I'm going to add my down payment. I'm going to do a basic conventional 30-year, my interest rate, my 30-year term, clicking on my next button, adding in my closing cost, verifying once I'm happy with them, apply it to the loan, add my prepaid days of interest. I'm going to add my hazard insurance and property tax as percentages because I don't know the exact amount. And then I'm going to add in my reserve months. So I basically really quickly just did a basic 30-year loan scenario. The second one that I do, I'm actually going to add another product. And I'm going to do 30-year with principal reduction. I'm going to copy it from that initial 30-year fix, so I don't need to recreate the will. And then I'm going to go right into my analysis screen. This is where that work is going to be done. So adjust reinvestment strategy. And here is where I'm going to put the information. So her client wants to pay the loan off in 15 years, and they want to see how much putting that extra principal reduction is going to save them on interest. So once I go in here, their payment is only 14. I'm going to say they're going to come in and make an extra 600. I'm really close there. 590. There we go. So once I place in that, and it's a little guessing game, or you can calculate it out either way. I'm going to put in what that difference in the payment would be. Now they have one paying off in 30, one locked in at that 30-year payment, plus making an extra principal reduction payment to pay it off in 15 years. Now I'm going to show, and because they want to see that interest and MI, if there's no MI, of course, it's not going to show. So it's going to show that interest. But this is also going to, the short-term savings is also going to be based on the interest. So I would choose to show the net worth. Now I have showing the interest and the net worth. If I know that timeline, let's say my clients want to know they plan on selling in 7 years, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to put 7 years here, 7 years here, and then I'll be able to go to the end of the presentation, click that preview, add my quote date, and preview the loan scenario. Yes, I can do that as well. I will add that on for you, Tiffany. So here I can quickly show them they're going to save in that time frame about $7,500 in interest. Now here's the thing that Tiffany asked. What if we also want to show that 15-year? How's that going to impact them? I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to the end, monthly cost, to add that third product. We're going to do the 15-year. I'm going to copy it from the first 30-year fixed, not the second one. Click on OK, and I'm going to quickly change this to a 15-year. So I'm going to say the 15-year is going to be 3.75, and it's going to be paid off in 180. Now the great thing about it is I already sent it over to my client, but they wanted to add on that 15-year. When I click on here now it's showing the difference. So they would actually save another $3,000 if they just go with that higher payment. That higher payment is actually $32 less a month than paying that extra principal reduction. So a really good scenario, but on the same token, they're locked into the lower payment here. So they're locked into that $1,400 payment versus having to be locked into a $2,000 payment. So again, financially, what's the best choice for your client? Depends on their scenario. Every client's not the same. They might be able to easily afford this, but they might have circumstances that this is going to be their better option. Any questions on this scenario? And this is a great scenario. You're welcome. Any other questions or scenarios you would like me to show you? Let's do a couple of things that I don't normally show in class, just because we don't get around to doing it. For those of you who are not as familiar, if I have a client that's coming back to me and they want me to do, hold on, I got a question. I sure can. I'm going to go back into that presentation just to switch, click the switch back here. Actually, analysis first, and show that total interest paid. I'm going to open that presentation back up. So now the difference is it's going to show the interest in the actual dollar amount. So this one here is about $10,830 less than this one. That one's $7,525 less than this one. I'm having a rough time with numbers. So like I said, even though it shows it a little differently by showing that interest in MI, I just like giving that other option of showing the net worth and how it's impacting net worth, because that's going to be the bigger factor to me, is that net worth. And the interest is still shown up here in that short-term savings area. So let's go back. I'm going to go back to net worth really quick. And in that net worth, you can see that it's actually going to build more net worth in that 7-year period, because that's my client's time frame. But it's not a whole lot difference. It's about an extra $600, $550, that they're going to build in net worth. No problem. So let's go back over here, and I'm going to show a couple of things that I normally don't show very often, but it is completely relevant, and you guys should know how to do it. So raise your hand in here if you are doing annual mortgage reviews. So if you are doing annual mortgage reviews, raise those hands. So Mortgage Coach is super easy, and I only have one way to go, Tiffany, way to capture that past book of business. Anyone not doing them, you're cheating yourself out of business, because on average, your past book of business, 15 to 17% of those people in that past book of business are touching their loan. If you're not touching them, someone else is. Someone else is capturing that business. Mortgage Coach is a great way to do that past book of business. If you've been in Mortgage Coach for a while and you have clients that are over a year old in Mortgage Coach, when you go to do a annual mortgage review, go into the search all, and you can put the client name in if you know the client. I'm just going to click on search and randomly pick somebody. And I'm going to say Rob is the client that I'm doing an annual mortgage review on. I'm going to click on Rob on the little folder, and then I'm going to click on the presentation that I did for him. I'm going to copy this analysis to the current client and click on OK. So, and I'm just going to rename this annual mortgage review. Then I would be able to adjust this for the annual mortgage review. But I want to show you why I do that instead of me going through and just building out a new presentation. Now when I go back into search all and I go back to that client, I'm going to come down here to Rob. Now I'm going to see annual mortgage review and purchase. That is the reason we have that bottom little presentation type name. Another reason you might do this is maybe Kristen wants me to show the same analysis but different products, and I don't have enough room on this to show those different analysis. I can go into Kristen's, and again, I can copy that analysis into Kristen and click on OK. And now I can put scenario 2. Now I can change the terms to whatever she wants me to change it to based on that second factor without changing all of Kristen's information in that first TCA. So if I want to be able to revert back to that first TCA and show her, here's where you were at the beginning, here's the second scenario you wanted me to show you, you can have those two separate TCAs, but you can quickly decide which one you need by going into that search all and going underneath their name to open it up. And we're going to find Kristen. And now we'll be able to have that second scenario shown very quickly. So that's the one thing I wanted to show. Another way to use this is, let's say I have a client that is identical to Jane Doe. Jane Doe and her, they have pretty much the same information. They want to see the same products. Instead of me coming in and me recreating the whole presentation, and I just created Jane's just a few days ago, so it's pretty relevant, I can go in there, I can copy that analysis, I can copy it to a new client and click on OK, And now it can be John Doe. All I need to do is go in and adjust the information that's a little different. So if I go in and I adjust those different information, then I can go ahead and send it over to John without going in and creating the whole will. So it's almost like using a strategy template, but instead of that strategy template, I'm just copying another client's presentation. Any questions on that? Now remember, anything I'm doing in here, I can also do it in the partner information. If I'm building out presentations for Amy, and it is the same realtor, I'm going to go in that search all and I'm going to copy here this presentation and then adjust it based on it so it stacks underneath Amy. And that way all of the open house features that I have are stacked underneath Amy. So when Amy goes, hey Tina, can you go pull that 123 Main Street that we did 4 weeks ago? I need a copy of that because it's going to go back on the market. It fell out. Perfect. I can simply go back in there, open it up, and have that analysis by clicking on that little folder to open it up. So what I suggest on the partner presentations is in that bottom presentation name, you actually place the property address. So if you place the property address, you can easily go in there and find which open house that you're looking for versus clicking into each one and looking for the property address that you want by clicking on property. So it's just a much faster way to be able to work the system. Any questions on partner presentation? Anyone in here? I know it's not used that frequently. Anyone in here not familiar at all with the partner presentation that would like to be? If you are, raise your hand and I will go through partner presentation really quick. So let's go into the partner presentation. We'll do a little bit of work in here. Partner presentation is great in the fact that you can co-brand with your partner. So it is co-branded with your realtor. So whoever your partner is, you can put their information in here, their phone number. Again, I would put the property address. On here, you want as much information as possible on your actual client, on the partner. The reason why is because when you have that partner presentation, this information is displayed all the way up to here. The street address is not displayed on the partner presentation, but everything above that little gray line here is displayed on the partner presentation. Always remember to put their information here as far as their license number, because just like ours protects us, theirs protects them. Uploading their images on there. So again, if you cannot find an image online, I would always just go to them and say, which image do you want? Can you send me over a headshot? So if you are out there and you're just trying to fish for business and fish for relationships and you're in MLS, 9 times out of 10, you can go in and find their headshot if you do a Google search. So if you do a Google search and put on there their name, realtor, when you do that Google search for a picture, you'll be able to copy that picture. The property, you'll go in, put in the street address. This show on map is only for you. It does not do anything in the actual presentation. Asking the basic features about the property. If you have the listing link, never, ever, ever link it back to a Zillow, a Redfin, any of those, because that's not going to link it to the partner. Only put in a listing link when there is an actual link to your partner's page. Otherwise, you're redirecting the client to someone else, and we don't want to do that. The more features will allow you to add in those little features into there. If there's extra, there are 4 little buttons down here where you can type in what it is. Make sure the little box is blue. And then you can add images. You can add up to 3 images. However, only 2 show up on the presentation. The reason that we have 3 available is, let's say Mr. Partner does not like image 1 that you chose, and they want a different image. You can quickly go in and say, well, I have this image also. Which one do you prefer? You would add your products the same way as normal, just putting in basic products, adding in your closing costs, prepaid days of interest, everything just like you would normally. Now remember, these are the scenarios where your products do not have to match each other. And more likely, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to. The products should be the products that are normally used in your neighborhood. So if you are, let's say where I'm at, I'm in Southern California. We do have a military base that is not too far. So I might show an FHA loan for a first-time home buyer. I might show a 20-year fixed conventional loan. I might show, if my ARM loans were comparable, I would show an ARM. If not, my second option would be a 5% conventional and my VA loan. So I'm probably going to use all 4 products up in that scenario because I want to show all options that would be sold for in this area. Second product, I'm simply going to do the copy from another product and make those changes necessary. On this one, it is an ARM loan, so that second page opens up with all the ARM adjustments. And then I would do the third and the fourth product. Presentation. Again, if you don't want something to show on a presentation, you can go and actually clicked on seller buy down. So make sure that it is open house. If you switch it to seller buy down, you have to come back and manually switch it, your next presentation, back to open house. So remember that once it's switched to the other one, it stays there. You got to switch it back manually. Then we're going to go into our details. This will be the presentation title. I like matching this to the marketing material that my partner has. So if my partner put a certain title on theirs, I'm a lot of times just going to copy and paste their exact same title because I want to co-brand it. I want the marketing to stay in line with my partner's marketing. I don't want to go in and add my own flair to it because that's not going to be any benefit to me or my partner. The pricing label, this is the words that go in front of the amount of the home. So if the price is dropped, it's going to be like price drop. Low price, great price for the community. Anything of that sort that's going to make people pay attention to the price. Here's where you choose your images. So I would go in, I would choose my first image, and then I could go in and choose my second image. And then going into preview. Now, on open house flyers, I am so much more particular on whether or not I'm notified of when people view it. I, most of the time, am not going to get a notification because if it's at an open house and we're just sending it out to people every time someone wants an open house flyer, I'm not going to know who's looking at it. I don't want to be notified every single time someone goes into that presentation. Same thing with my partner. I'm more likely not going to add them either unless they ask to. Now, if on the other hand, I'm using this for marketing and I have placed 2 identical presentations, let's say I make a second presentation with Amy that's identical to this presentation, and I want to see which of my marketing sources are being driven better, I'm going to be notified when the report is viewed, and I'm going to make sure that I use the proper link in the proper marketing spot. And this is going to allow me to watch the marketing on those 2 to see which form of marketing is working better for me. So it's a great, easy way to track your marketing. Then I can go down, and we already went through clicking on that preview. The presentation itself, again, co-branded. I don't have a lot of information in mine. Mine's random. You'll see your display. Here is that asking price and the price. You can flip from one house to another. You can highlight on here just like you can highlight on your normal TCA. It's going to show the basic products. It's going to show the breakdown of the fees. If there is a payment stream, it will show that payment stream. And then at the bottom, it will show the property features. So if you've never used or done a paperless open house, there's some great videos in YouTube. I'm just going to go to YouTube really quick. By Nicole Solari. So I'm going to go in and just type in Nicole's name. So Nicole is actually a realtor, and she works with Jeremy Forcier. And I'm going to go ahead and post this in the chat box. Come in and watch some of her videos. She has actually gone in, I believe she's only been in the industry 4.5 years now, from being that first person in the industry to now she owns her own firm. Like, she has really killed it, and she's done a few things different. First of all, she does a paperless open house. Second of all, she does her open houses during the day when kids get out at school. So after kids get out at school, wherever time that is in your local market, she does open houses then, because that's when the moms have the kids. They want something to do instead of going straight home. She's become very successful because of that technique. And I'm going to go back over here, and that's pretty much it. You have your menu just like normal. You can translate to Spanish if that's available in your account. Print it. Suggest not printing it because you lose out on being able to see when someone clicks on it. You'll still be able to track those clicks. Now, if you're not looking at your presentations and how many times people are viewing presentations, we here at Mortgage Coach have tracked it. The most successful loan officers have anywhere from 3 to 5 views for every one presentation. So if you go into your recent views, you'll be able to see how many times it's been viewed. And again, 3 to 5 is a great number. Mine, of course, there's not many views because this is not an active account. But you want to have that 3 to 5 looking in your recent views. If you're not getting that 3 to 5 views, what are some things you can do to get those views? Number 1, tell your clients to share the presentation. Let them know they're welcome to share it with whoever they want. Tell them how to share it. Tell them that they have this menu bar and they have that share button that has the link here. Let them know they should be sharing it with their realtor or anyone helping them make a decision. I would even tell them to share it with their financial advisor and go through it and look at it with the financial advisor to make sure it's sound information, that they can see what's going on and how it would impact their taxes. So again, that 3 to 5 is a great point to be able to have it shared. The other thing that you might want to do is, if you are a manager on a call and you're trying to get people in your branch to start using the presentation, when you send out your link in an email, blind copy your other loan officers. Or if you're a loan officer and you want to show another loan officer, you know, what you're sending out, blind carbon copy them in the email that goes to the actual client. So they're able to see what you're doing as well, and that way they can become more comfortable with it. Any other questions or concerns? Looks like there's not. As always, if you want a copy of this presentation, send me an email, tina@mortgagecoach.com. I did remember to record it. So you do need to send me the email because I don't send it out to everyone, and I will not remember whoever puts in the chat box. Please send me the link. So if you email me, tina@mortgagecoach.com, I would be happy to send it to you. And otherwise, have a fabulous weekend, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye-bye. Have a great day.